Welcome everyone. This is Dr. Satyabrata Behera, Assistant Professor of Geology from Ravenshaw University, Cuttack. I am making this video for the partial fulfillment of the refresher course in Earth Sciences at UGC HRDC, Kumaon University, Nainital. The topic of my lecture is Mineral Systems Analysis and Mineral Prospectivity Mapping. These two are relatively new concepts in geoscience, and many of you may not be familiar with these concepts. In this lecture, I will briefly define these new terms in the upcoming slides. First, let's talk about mineral systems analysis. All of us must be knowing about petroleum system. Petroleum system is a unifying concept which talks about the source, porosity, reservoir rock, migration of petroleum, and oil traps or seal of where we can extract petroleum from subsurface. So similar to the petroleum system concept, Webben et al., a group of geoscientists from Australia, they coined a term mineral systems analysis. So mineral systems analysis is a comprehensive or holistic approach to understand the mineralizing process or the process of ore formation, that is ore forming process. So what it does, it breaks down the ore forming process into its constituent processes such as source parameters, migration or pathway parameter, and the trap or precipitation parameters. So as can be seen in this diagram, under source parameter, the source of metal, source of ligand, and source of hydrothermal fluid is considered. And under migration or pathway parameter, we talk about the structural discontinuities through which the metal bearing hydrothermal fluid can migrate up to the surface, which includes faults, fractures, etc. And under deposition site or trap or precipitation parameters, we talked about various metal precipitation mechanisms such as phase separation, change in temperature and pressure, change in pH, EH, fluid mixing, etc. So in the figure on the right side, we can understand the scale of mineral systems concept. On the x-axis, the scale has been shown, and on the y-axis, time has been shown. As can be seen, the scale axis ranges from global scale to the deposit scale. At the global scale, crustal differentiation occurs and initial metal enrichment happens, what we call the geochemical inheritance. From craton to province scale, the geodynamic and tectonic process play a major role, which triggers the mineralization process. And from province to district scale, the source of mineralization process begins, which includes source of metal, source of hydrothermal fluid, and source of ligands. And from district to deposit scale, metal concentration process initiates, which includes the migration of metal bearing hydrothermal fluid through structural discontinuities such as faults, fractures, erosions in the earth crust. And at deposit scale, various precipitation mechanisms occurs, which results in the precipitation of ore from the ore bearing or metal bearing hydrothermal fluid. And after the deposition of ore, the geochemical dispersion happens, which we found the dispersion signatures of this dispersion in stream sediments, water samples, soil samples, which we call the secondary dispersion of geochemical elements. So what is the purpose of this mineral systems analysis? It is used to find out the metallogenetically relevant data. So how we find? If we consider the ore forming process, it is a really very complex process, and all these processes which operated from global to deposit scale, all these processes operated in long geologic past and lost their signature in subsequent geodynamic evolution of the earth. So to get minerals, we need a mineral deposit. To get a mineral deposit, we need mineral exploration. And for exploration, we need to understand the ore forming process. Since these processes have lost their signatures, and most importantly, these processes cannot be mapped today, because for exploration we need mapping, we need to do mapping exercises, and all the ore forming processes cannot be mapped. But by understanding such ore forming processes, we can found some of the signatures of those processes in the form of several geoscientific data sets, such as geological data, geophysical data, geochemical data, structural data, lithological data, etc. And by understanding the process, we can able to find out which data is relevant for exploration of certain type of ore deposit, and by collecting and analyzing the data, it can be used in effective mineral exploration exercise. Let's now come to mineral prospectivity mapping. What does the word prospectivity means? Prospectivity means possibility, probability, or likelihood. That means mapping the likelihood or possibility, or mapping the probability of finding a mineral deposit is called mineral prospectivity mapping. As can be seen in the definition, it is defined as a GIS based digital way of mapping the probability of finding mineral deposits. And most important thing is, it is done using predictive geomathematical models. Since it is a mapping of probability, possibility, or likelihood, we need predictive models. So this predictive geomathematical models has to play a major role in mineral prospectivity mapping. So as we discussed earlier, from mineral systems analysis, we can able to find out which data is relevant. The data are being collected from several geoscience disciplines, such as geological data, geochemical data, geophysical data, remote sensing data. All these data are collected and compiled. We require, for compilation, we need a platform. The GIS, or Geographic Information System, provides this platform, and with the help of predictive mathematical model, we can able to produce a mineral prospectivity map, which shows the potential areas where exploration efforts has to be intensified to find out new mineral deposits. So this is the input part, the collection and compilation of data, and the processing part, which is performed on a GIS platform using predictive mathematical models, and the output is the mineral prospectivity map. As I told earlier, the predictive mathematical models play a major role, which are divided into knowledge driven and data driven, which I will be discussing in the next slide. So the mineral prospectivity mapping is the comprehensive interpretation. Why is it called comprehensive? Because it includes all sorts of geoscience data relevant to mineralization, and integration of multi-source geoscience data sets to target and prioritize. The main goal is to prioritize potential areas for further detailed survey. We can relate this mineral prospectivity mapping exercise to the light table. I think you must have heard about it. Before GIS, Geographic Information System, comes into picture, previously what exploration geoscientists were doing, they were using a table with a glass top and use a source of light from underneath, and they were making maps on a tracing sheets and put them on the glass table, and they overlap the potential areas from each map. Like they will put a geological map with favorable geological areas, and then overlap it with favorable geochemical signature, then overlap with the geophysical data, and finally they using the light table, light glass table, they were able to demarcate the intersection area, and they target these areas for further detailed survey. So GIS just did the same exercise with a more efficient way by incorporating predictive mathematical models. So GIS did not do any extraordinary new things. They did the same thing what scientists, geoscientists have been doing since ages, since years, but they did it in an effective way. So this is all about mineral prospectivity mapping. So what are the types of prospectivity mapping methods? Basically, whenever we go for exploration to a field, the field can be divided into two types. One is green field, one is brown field. Generally, some people refer green fields as virgin area where data have never been collected. But in mineral prospectivity mapping exercise, we refer green field as areas which are relatively less explored, with little known mineralization or with no known mineralization. But data has been collected, but there is no or very little known mineralization. We call it green field. And what we refer brown field, which are relatively well explored with significant known mineralization. If we take an example, the Hortimarsky Greenschist Belt is a brownfield area because there we have discovered a number of ore mineralizations, and also we have working gold mines there. So we can call it a brownfield. And if we talk about a Bhukia gold prospect or Sonakhan gold, there very little known mineralization is found to occur there, so we can refer them as greenfield. So on the basis of greenfield and brownfield, the prospectivity mapping exercise is classified as knowledge driven, which are applicable in greenfield areas, and the data driven, which are applicable in brownfield areas. In brownfield areas, both data driven and knowledge driven, and the combination of data and knowledge driven, which we usually refer as hybrid prospectivity mapping techniques, can be applied. And nowadays, in the digital era, several machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms are also very widely being used in prospectivity mapping exercise. This includes artificial neural networks, support vector machines, and several random forest algorithms. So, so far we must have more or less understood the concepts of mineral systems approach and concept of mineral prospectivity mapping. So, if we need to confine them into a domain of research, then what it would be? So, the answer is here in this diagram. This diagram consists of three circles. The blue circle represents geology. Since geology is the study of Earth and Earth is the blue planet, we have represented geology in blue circle. The math and statistics represents the red circle, and computer science and IT represents the green circle. The intersection area of math and statistics and geology, we refer it mathematical geology and geostatistics, and the common area between computer science and IT and geology, we refer it computational geology, and the common area between math and statistics and computer science and IT, we refer it as data science. Today is the era of data science. And when we combine data science along with computational geology and mathematical geology and geostatistics, what we found is digital geology or geo-data science. So we call it an interdisciplinary research paradigm between mathematical geology, computational geology, and data science. So after understanding what mineral systems is, what prospectivity mapping is, and what is the domain of research they belong to, now what is the purpose of all these? The purpose is to incorporate such state-of-the-art concepts and techniques in mineral exploration exercise. As we all know, minerals are non-renewable natural resources, so we cannot replace them. In order to satisfy the need of the manpower, so these minerals are being exhausted day by day, and rate of discovery of new mineral deposit is very, very less. So there is an urgent need to expedite the exploration effort, adopting effective exploration approaches. So there is a need to adopt such new concepts in the exploration exercise which is being conducted in our country, because in the other developing and developed mineral rich countries like Canada, Australia, China, they are very widely using these concepts and incorporating these state-of-the-art tools and techniques in mineral exploration exercise. But if we see in our country, these, these concepts are very little known to the exploration geoscientists. The reason could be many, but this is not a platform to discuss about them. But what the challenge is? The challenge is to translate the concept of mineral systems into an effective exploration targeting approach, which can be implemented in effective exploration of mineral deep commodity of our country. So this challenge can be approached, this challenge can be met through prospectivity mapping technique. So with this note, I conclude my lecture. These are few references. Thank you.